Welcome back to the interactive interview on KASC, the Blaze 1260, as we're joined by the Royal Stud, Adam Windsor. How you doing, Adam?
I'm doing real well, thank you. It's nice to be with you.
It's nice to have you on. You sent me an email a couple weeks ago and you mentioned something about you being on MTV or filming some kind of MTV show. What can you tell us about that?
Oh, I actually just wrapped it up this last week. Basically, there was a wrestling fan here in Ocala, and she weighed around about 250 pounds, and she wanted to go on a diet. And she came to me and wondered if I could help her lose weight. And in the process, MTV got involved because I was down at Universal Studios one day, and MTV were there, and she actually signed up for something to do with MTV, and she said that she was going to be losing weight, and they thought it would be a great story, her being a wrestling fan and me being a wrestler. And and basically they've been filming me and her over the last kind of 7 weeks, me training her and helping her to lose weight. And at the same time, she's been watching wrestling, watching Raw, watching WrestleMania, and doing all of that. And it's actually going to be it's a True Life documentary, and it's actually going to be the season premiere of True Life, which is going to air in May.
Wow. Cool.
Do you think that's going to branch you out for indie dates and such? I mean, is this going to be a great exposure for your career?
Well, to be quite honest, just doing it so far, I've had such good exposure, not just in wrestling, within television, though, because I've already got a few more different shows lined up with MTV, it looks like, that I'm going to be doing. And also, I've been down at Universal Studios a lot, and I'm going to be going out to LA to do some fun work at Universal out there.
You've been at Universal Studios, and I guess you mean in Florida, since you're from Florida.
Yes, well, yeah, from Florida, and they're sending me out to LA to do some work out there for them. So.
Did you happen to walk over to the TNA lot while you were down there?
No, I actually didn't go over there. I actually haven't been to their new location yet. I did work for TNA around about probably a year ago, and but I haven't actually been back there since.
Can you tell us about some of the? You said you had a few other MTV shows lined up. Can you give us any information on that?
Not right now. They're all kind of pending. All I can say is really that one is going to be kind of an extreme sports show.
Okay. So how did you?
Nothing signed and sealed yet. We're just in talks right now and trying to work out the final details. Right.
Oh, okay. How did you end up training with Dory Funk Jr.?
That's actually a long story. To kind of cut it down for you, I was in England, and in England back in around about 97, 98, there really wasn't any kind of independent promotions in England. There weren't really any at all. And I really wanted to be a professional wrestler. And the only way I could really figure on coming to the States was to contact the WWE, or WWF at the time. So I wrote a lot of letters to the WWF, and at the same time, I actually had a friend by the name of Jade Adams. She was the daughter of a guy called Gentleman Chris Adams, who was a...
Yes, I remember him vividly.
Okay. And my judo coach, actually, because I was in the British judo team, was Jade's uncle, and that's Neil Adams. And Jade actually tried to help me to get into wrestling by talking to her stepdad at the time she was living with here in the States, who was Steve Williams, or Stone Cold Steve Austin. And that was at a time when Stone Cold was actually breaking out, and he was really getting huge with this Stone Cold character. She was living with Steve and her mom, Jeannie. And basically one day Jade said to Steve, you know, there's this guy Adam I know in England, because she would travel back and forth to stay with her uncle in England every year, and he wants to be a professional wrestler. Can you help him at all? And to cut another long story short, he ended up going into Titan Towers one day and mentioning my name to a lady called Sue DeRosa, who was one of the secretaries in there. And Sue had actually seen one of my letters in the office and put 2 and 2 together, and through Steve and through Sue, they passed it on to the training division because they had just opened the WWF Funkin' Dojo.
Right.
And those letters were then passed on to Dory Funk Jr., and the rest is kind of history, really.
Wow. It's got to be like a tough thing for announcers to do when they say the funking dojo, because one slip of the tongue and you're off the air.
Oh, I've heard that many times.
Yeah. You actually, I'm a subscriber to Pro Wrestling Illustrated, one of the biggest magazines involving wrestling around, and they would always have advertisements for the Funkin' Dojo, and your picture would always be on there. You'd be like the poster boy for them.
Yeah, I was for quite a long time until until there was an issue with the conservatory and Pro Wrestling Illustrated.
We'll get right into those issues with you and the conservatory in just a few minutes, but you worked a couple of the last WCW shows. I think they were dark matches. What was the atmosphere like at the end of WCW? Did anybody there really realize that the company was weeks away from death?
I'll tell you a funny story. Basically, I was there the week before they closed down on I guess it was so far back. It was Monday, and I think there was Thunder that week as well. Okay, going a little bit further back from there was a pay-per-view called Greed.
Yes.
Was that their last pay-per-view?
Yes, that was their last pay-per-view.
Okay, I was at their last pay-per-view. I went from there, and I went to Nitro. I went to Thunder, and nobody had any idea, really. You know, the atmosphere, WCW towards the end was very, everybody, I think, was out for themselves, really. You know, nobody really was running the place, and I remember the very last show that they had down in Panama City. Let me think. I left Ocala. It was me and about 5 of the wrestlers. We were going down there, and I spoke to a friend of mine on the phone. He said, you know, it looks like WCW has been sold. And this is like, we were about an hour away from Panama City. And we had no idea. And of course, you know, we thought it was just like an internet rumor.
Right.
Yeah. We weren't really sure what was going on, but sure enough, as soon as we got to Panama City Beach, we walked to where they were holding the event, and it said WWF or WWE offices this way. And the first person I saw was Gerald Briscoe, and then I saw Shane McMahon there. So we obviously kind of knew the rumors were all true.
Mm.
Were there any plans to give you a push in WCW before obviously the sale took place?
Honestly, I couldn't tell you, but I would have liked to hope there probably would have been. I mean, I was there quite a bit, and one of the guys was actually working in their office. He actually worked from home in his later career. His name was Jim Barnett.
Right.
He was a real famous promoter back, I guess, in the 60s and 70s. And he was actually working for the offices, and he pushed me a lot there. And you know, he was real helpful in my career. He died last year sometime.
Yeah.
But, he was pushing for me there, and you know, I had some good matches there, and I was real pleased. But it was just a shame the company closed down, really.
Oh, I mean, that hurt the business tremendously. But whenever you mention Jim Barnett, the first thing that always comes into my mind is one thing that became his catchphrase is "my boy."
Yep. Jim was he was a character. I was lucky enough to get to meet him quite a lot of times towards the time that I was going back and forth to WCW, and he was coming actually to the Bunking Conservatory quite a lot when he was in good health. So I got to meet him quite a few times, and he was always very pleasant and very nice towards me.
You were with the Funks for about 4 to 5 years. Can you tell us why you decided to split company with them?
Honestly, at the end of the day, for me, it was a business decision. Towards the end, some of it got personal, some of it got very personal, but the majority of it was really business. The truth of the matter was that, you know, I really wanted to pursue a wrestling career. I really felt that I was kind of stagnant in the position that I was in there, and I needed to jump out into deeper water. There was only so far I could go there, and I felt that I had reached like that point, the farthest point I could get to at the Bunking Conservatory a long time ago. But, you know, it was just kind of hard for me to leave something that I was so used to.
Do you feel that the money you put into it and the time you put into the conservatory was all worth it?
Yes, I would say so, to some degree, and no, I wouldn't to another. But I would say, you see, if you look at the wrestling business from when I first started 6 years ago, in the very first 3 years of my career, there was a lot of magazines. There was WOW magazine. There was a lot more people watching wrestling, getting into wrestling. And I would say that, you know, the people knowing who I am kind of independently and maybe throughout the state really comes from those first 3 years that I was in the business, because there were, as I said, there were so many different outlets for people to know, you know, about different wrestlers.
Yeah.
So, you know, I probably really did get my money's worth over that first couple of years that I was there, I would say. But, you know, when obviously when WCW went down and all the magazines went out, you know, right now there's only Pro Wrestling Illustrated left, really. It's difficult for independent wrestlers to get known.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would say I was fortunate enough to be one of those last kind of indie wrestlers to really kind of get known pretty well by wrestling fans who, I mean, wrestling fans who are really into wrestling, you know, not just ones who just maybe randomly watch a show here and there.
Right.
You know, the actual wrestling fans that follow wrestling in general.
Would you say that decline in the ratings and obviously the attention that wrestling gets to you, would you say that's why the conservatory has gone downhill in terms of its exposure?
Probably. You know, everybody talks about wrestling going in cycles, and how, for so many years it may be good, for so many years it may be bad. But I think at the end of the day, especially with a wrestling school, it really all depends on how you promote yourself and how you treat your students and how you promote yourself to the public, and with a wrestling school in particular, how many people you kind of get out there, and kind of make stars of, I guess you could say, for instance, OVW. Look at how many people maybe come from OVW and went to WWE or got developmental contracts with them.
Yeah.
Or you can look at other schools, maybe, I don't know, the Wild Stone School, who came from there. It all depends on really how many people the school is putting out. I know it all depends on kind of what talent you're getting through. But at the end of the day, people are looking at schools because they want to become professional wrestlers, and at the end of the day, they want to become kind of famous professional wrestlers.
Right.
Well, you've got what a lot of people say is $1 million look. You're a young guy, and that is really what WWE is lacking right now. They don't have a lot of young talent on their, especially their Raw roster.
Yeah.
You worked under the WWE banner with house shows and dark matches. Do you think it will be likely in sometime in the future for you to become a WWE superstar?
I really, really would like to hope so. That's kind of anybody's aim really in this business. Well, particularly my aim, but I know most people's aim is to get to the WWE. That's where everybody really wants to be. Everybody really wants to work for Vince. My long-term goal would be to get there, and I really hope that one day I would. I just think, I'm 23 now, and I think it just takes time. Things don't come overnight, and I started real young, really, in the wrestling business. I started 6 years ago, and I still have a lot of time, I think.
Yes, I mean, you're exactly my age, which makes me feel old. What is working in Japan? What's different about working in Japan than working in the United States?
The first thing I should say is the crowd, for sure. The crowd appreciate wrestling. I mean, they don't look at the entertainment aspect so much as, you can, in Japan, you could just do a headlock and over or give somebody an arm drag and they would pop. The crowd would go nuts. Here in America, the fans expect a lot more from the guys in the ring, from the work to maybe the entertainment value. I particularly like the work in Japan because, I mean, it's hard. It's a lot stiffer, but it's a lot more real, and the fans really buy over there what you're doing in the ring.
We had a chance, actually I didn't, James and another friend of the show had a chance to meet RVD, and we have pictures of the site with that, and he's a former two-time guest with us, and rumor has it that you're pretty close friends with RVD. Is that true, and if so, how'd you guys hit it off?
He's a really good guy. Rob, in the beginning of my career, I talked to a lot. The Fun Section put me in touch with Rob Van Dam, and he really gave me some advice, particularly because when I started, I was 120 pounds, and he really gave me advice on how to kind of bulk up, what kind of programs to do in the gym, really what I should be doing in the ring, just kind of giving me general advice, as well as learning a lot from Dory. I feel like I've learned a lot in my career from Rob, just from talking to him, and he's always been a real nice guy, a real good friend, and he's a good guy all around, really.
Of course, we had Lenny Poffel on the show. I guess it was about a month ago. You wrestled him at the Wrestle Reunion event. I heard stories about his tights problem. I'm not even going to ask you about that, but what was it like working with Lanny? And, well, maybe I will ask you about that. What went wrong with his tights? Because I've heard stories.
Okay, first of all, Lanny is a great guy. It was an absolute pleasure to work with him. He's a real nice guy, and it was an honor to work with him in the ring. He still got it in the ring. He was really in pretty good shape. I guess apart from your tights, as you said earlier.
Right.
Basically, before he didn't expect to wrestle, I don't think, ever again before the Wrestle Reunion. So he sold his boots on eBay, I guess, and sold off his tights, and sold off his pads, and everything that he had, sold off his Genius outfit. So he really had nothing. When I remember walking into the locker room, and he had on a pair of little tights, and I was waiting for him to put on his boots or put on another pair of tights over the top, but he just stood there, and and he didn't. So I kind of guessed, I kind of figured in the end that was what he was going to wear. I really don't know what happened with his tights because I haven't seen the tape yet. I haven't seen the DVD that's been released, but all I do know is I had him in a headlock on the floor, and he bridged up and flipped over, and the crowd made a tremendous noise when he did that. So I'm not sure exactly what happened when he bridged up and flipped over the top, but I guess something happened.
Oh man! Well, maybe we can just fast forward that segment.
I think it's going to be on the DVD actually that's coming out. I heard they left everything in.
You know what the price is, on that's going to be?
I have no idea. No idea. I don't even know when it's actually coming out. I only heard a couple of weeks ago that it was due to be released pretty soon, but
who knows?
I mean, we did a whole segment, a whole week-long thing building up with we did DDP. We brought a lot of people on the show who's going to be on the show, and we were really excited to see it. Unfortunately, it's way out of our area range, so we didn't get to check it out. So picking up the DVD, I'd definitely be excited about checking that out.
Yeah, I think, as I said, I spoke to Bill Astor, I think it was last week, and he mentioned that it was going to be out pretty soon. So.
Are you going to be on future Wrestle Reunion shows?
As of right now, I couldn't tell you. I actually haven't spoken to Bill recently, and considering my situation with the Funks, I know that they're going to be on the next one. I could honestly not tell you right now.
Is that, all right. Well, I think we'll just leave it at that. Okay, do you mind if we close out with a few word associations? If you have a story that you want to share about the name, that's fine. If you just have a one-word answer, that's cool too, whatever you have. All right, first name on the list is somebody that worked in Florida on indie scene quite a bit, Marty Jannetty.
Oh, nice guy, real good guy. Been on a lot of shows with him, and he's a great guy. Do you want me to do a one-word association, or just to give you a...
Well, whatever's cool with you.
I mean, if you have a story that you want to share, that'd be cool too.
I was on about 4 shows with him in the last kind of 3 months before he went to before he did the shot on WWE with Shawn Michaels, and real nice guy, and gave me some really good advice in the locker room.
Yeah, apparently they've signed him, so, you know.
That's what I get. That's what I gather. That's what I've heard, that they did sign him. I heard that he was going to be teaming with Shawn Michaels on some WrestleMania Revenge tour dates or something.
I got an email from him a couple days after he's made his appearance, and he said, well, it looks like I'm going to be busy for a while, because we had him on the show a couple times, and we kept in close contact. For whatever reason, he liked me, so that's kind of cool. He seems like a really good guy.
Yeah, he's a nice guy, and still really has it in the ring still.
Oh yeah, I think that's why they signed him, because I don't think anybody had any expectation to him actually getting signed. And then he went in the ring, and they were like, "Wow, this guy's good."
I think I know he gave me some advice on just wrestling and in general, and that may be one of the reasons why that I think they may have signed him too, was to give the younger guys.
Yeah.
Right.
How about another Marty Funk?
No comment.
No comment. Wow.
RVD.
Great guy.
How about Steve Corino?
A real nice guy. Have met him a number of times, and always treated me with respect, and I'm very respectful of him too.
Another good friend of the show, Missy Hyatt.
Great ballet.
And I guess you can kind of guess what the last one will be. I guess it's no shock to you, but it's Dory Funk Jr.
Legend.
So I take it you don't have any ill will towards him at this point?
I honestly don't really have any ill will towards anybody. As I said to you, I've moved on from the Funkin' Conservatory now. At the end of the day, I had to do what I had to do. Some of it will always be personal to me about what happened there, and one day I'll talk about it. I've been offered quite a lot of money on 2 different occasions in the last few months to kind of do a book on different things that have happened to me in the last 6 years. Maybe I will one day, but as of right now, I'm kind of keeping a lot of things to myself, just for kind of legal reasons too.
Yeah. Actually, I have one last question from my side. I was just curious, has TNA, you said you worked there about a year ago, has TNA contacted you, and do you have any desire to work for them now? They've got a national exposure?
Yep, I would love to work for TNA. I would have loved to work for them a long time before now. There was there was a big problem between them and the owners of the Funkin Conservatory, which meant I could never actually work there really while I was there. So I've been in contact with them several times in the past couple of months. So hopefully we'll see how that plays out too. I've been talking to a couple of guys there that book the shows, and in fact I actually talked to Missy Hyatt the other day. She actually called me 2 days ago about possibly working there in the next few weeks.
Missy called you about working with TNA. That's interesting. We'll have to give her a call and find out what that's all about.
Yeah, she's been my valet for the past kind of nearly 2 years, and you know, she gets a bad rap really a lot of the time around the business. But
yeah, I hate that too, because she's
a good-hearted person at the end of the day, and we the thing that we do is we're Royalsted Enterprises, and it's me, her, and her dog Milo. So,
right.
I guess TNA have seen that recently. So.
Well, here's the thing about that, and this is all I want to say about Missy. We had her on, I would say probably about 4 to 5 times, and you know, anytime we call her that she's actually at her house, she helps us out and comes on. She's like, you know, she would be on every week if she could.
Oh, so, yeah, for sure.
I mean, she seems to love it, and here's the thing. If she denied her past, then I could see people hating her for it. But she's pretty open and honest about it.
She's
so
completely open. I've asked her wild questions before, which I thought she wouldn't answer, and she has.
Right. So I mean, that's what I say. I mean, if the person is honest about who they are, then you have no reason to judge them.
Yeah. Oh no. And I think a lot of the time she's actually proud of who she is. She's proud of what she has accomplished.
She has every right to be. Well, we really can't thank you enough, and if there's anything we can ever do for you in the future, you know how to reach us, and we would be absolutely thrilled to help you out.
Well, thank you. Really do appreciate it.
All right, stay tuned for more from the Interactive Interview.